Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Ball Watching. We are hot off of a journey downtown, which I just do not make very often. Justin, I'm sure you do more than I, but it's always good to find a reason to go down outside of just city matches or blues games or any like sporting event, I guess. But it was fun to go to the unveiling of the secondary kit for St. Louis City, Justin. How you feeling in the wake of that? I guess we're going to talk about it, so maybe we don't need to spoil it off the bat. But how you feeling on this Tuesday? You and I couldn't keep the day straight hanging out. It's been a whirlwind of a week with Super Bowl and just everything that comes from that.
Yeah, it's been nuts. That's why I was literally just talking to you. I was like, yeah, I ate so much yesterday. You're like, at the day after the Super Bowl? I'm like, no, oh my God. Yeah, today's Tuesday. But no, the kit reveal was very cool. Shout out to City for that. Did a pop-up shop. We're going to play a video here for you guys in a second. We just posted on our reels, but also want to get it on the podcast for anybody that doesn't have the social media aspect there. But Carol and Kindle, she gave a nice explanation of why Tina, and then you add that on with Matt Seaback. They did an incredible job. And then Coca that they are partnering with, and we're going to be hearing more about that. I just posted that on the story too, Jake. The big wheels keep on turning by Tina Turner. But Jake, do you have any other comments real quick? And then I'm going to give us a retweet or delete after this video. But do you have any other comments before I play the video for Carolyn and Matt explaining why Tina?
No, fire it up. And for anyone that's not going to be on the pod watching this, go listen to it on our socials right now. Very much worth the listen.
Yep, absolutely. So let me play this. Jake, give me a thumbs up. Make sure you can hear this.
So why Tina? We are honored to be able to celebrate her influence and legacy, given her formative years were spent here and attended Sumner High School. St. Louis has been home to so many incredible artists who have shaped music history, and Tina stands on the top of that list.
She came to St. Louis at the age of 16, and St. Louis is where she became Tina Turner. It's where she took the microphone. It's where she found her voice and became a global icon. The Grammy Awards, the Lifetime Achievement Awards, but her story has so much more depth. She had ups and downs. She had trials, tribulations, but ultimately
We lost audio, Justin, for a little bit into Matt Seaback talking about it.
It's a fundamental belief that our best days are not behind us. That is the energy of Tina Turner, and now we wear it proudly as our away kit for the next 2 years.
That was my mistake, Jake, for why you guys lost audio. I coughed, and so I went on mute. I didn't think that was going to stop Matt from talking. So
You can't cough, man.
we have it out on Reels. Jake, you're going to put the tweet up here in a little bit as well.
Yep.
But it's really, I mean, when I saw this and you saw this, is like, why Tina Turner? I had no clue. I sent it to the Washimo boys, and Brady's like, I could have lived my whole life without telling you that Tina Turner had a connection to St. Louis. But this is awesome to know that she was not born here. She was born in Tennessee, but then came here when she was 16. And really, that's when that stardom started, and really just absolutely took off. So it was a cool explanation by them to give us a little glimpse behind the curtain.
Yeah, it was cool. And by the way, you could have, I'm in the same bucket. I knew that there was something with St. Louis with her. I just couldn't tell you what. But yeah, like the formative years, like her high school, that part of your life where so much changes for you and you actually start to develop into a bit of an adult. Some of us, it happens a little bit later on, Justin, speaking from experience. But for Tina and, even her namesake, like that is where she revealed all of that and really became, or at least kind of put the underpinnings into what she became, which is an absolute rock and roll superstar. So really cool. And I found this, Justin. I found you and I were trying to find what was the exact terminology. This is the first ever kit collab with a female musical artist in global sport. That's coming from Adidas. So a cool collaboration, Justin. I mean, this is the type of stuff that gets you articles with Billboard, who just released an article about it just right now. And I think, frankly, let's go back to the like it or hate it, or even if you're somewhere in the middle. I definitely don't like to hate jerseys, and I don't think I hate this jersey. I think it's better in person, but I think if anything, for me, it's more of the story. I feel like is really what shapes a lot of these narratives with the club so far. Like even like the City Forever Red kit last year. Again, I know it drew some ire from fans, and it wasn't everyone's favorite. But it's cool to go to these events because there's so much work that goes into it. And they were doing this planning for so long. They had her Grammy there, her lifetime Grammy. They had her VMA award. They had a dress that she had worn. So it's cool to take so much pride, like civic pride in St. Louis. And that I am always going to be 100% behind. So like, even if you don't like the kit, don't buy it, but acknowledge that like the thought being put into this is methodical and intentional.
And there was a lot more background to it that didn't make the reel, but to give Matt Seaback and team even more credit, they were talking about how they thought about this years ago. So Tina actually passed in 2023, and they were talking about like, oh my God, like how can we make this work with us? And it was awesome to really hear that story. They flew that stuff in from overseas, the dress, the Grammy, all of that. So like Jake said, I get it. You're gonna have the haters. You're gonna have people that like I don't want to buy it. That's fine. Save your money. But I think it's really cool to take a step back and show the deep roots and how much this club really cares about the city. And that's the one. And like he goes into saying the trials and tribulations that Tina had. There was more to it. Not that it's just like related to St. Louis City, the soccer team, also just St. Louis in general, the ups and downs. So it was a very cool background. You can see also if you go online or when you can purchase the jersey, there's a little silhouette of Tina on the jersey in the bottom left. Her signature is on the back collar as well. There's still a little bit of city red in there. They did mention like yes, it's gold. It's a little bit of a play on our energy yellow. And then Matt said, energy yellow is not going anywhere. It'll be around. It was a little teaser there as well, Jake. So I thought overall, yes. And yeah, you might not like the jersey or whatnot, but Jake, here's my retweet or delete. I still like it. Going to see it in person, I still like it. I think people are like, oh, I don't know how I feel about like the dark gold that's kind of look like a fold in there and whatnot. It gives it a little bit of texture. There is actual physical texture on it too. You were the one that called it out, Jake, on the back. There's like some ribs on it as well. So my retweet or delete, Jake, let me know what your thoughts are. I'm still a fan of it. I think there was one thing that you noted though that you probably weren't a fan of.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see on the field. Like, I'll definitely give it like even one more try because you want to see it like being worn by the guys out there. But you know, so you get the jersey, which like it had, like you said, Justin, it kind of has some ribbing texture to it, which you may not be able to see as a fan, like from the stands. But you get to the shorts, and they have your classic sort of 3 Adidas stripes down the sides. They really stand out a lot because of the contrast of the black and the gold, and I think it's pretty solid in terms of the color scheme on the shorts or the bottoms compared to the top, which almost looks like a curtain, right? Like a closing curtain or like a dress she was wearing, which I totally get. Like, again, super cool concept. But I'm going to give it time. I like the socks, Justin, like the sleeve socks. We were looking, I'm like, those look cool. I would cop those. I'm still deleting personally, but here's how you can get me back, Justin. Here's how you get me back. If this, you know, sometimes wearing something just kind of gives you like a little bit of a spark, you know, putting on your favorite pair of jeans, putting on that favorite shirt, you just act a little different. If the team can evoke some additional pride or some additional power or some just grabbing a deeper level within themselves, wearing the gold kits, I'm all for them. We might need to keep them here if we're able to find some semblance of form in those, because any edge we can take, I am all about for us. But for now, I'm still in the delete train.
That's fine. I understand. I do think it's actually going to look better on the field and on the guys as well. Again, it's very similar to that original leaked image, but being in person, I liked it more than that leaked image, that 2D version, and I do think it's going to look good on the guys celebrating that first goal at Energizer Park. What, just a week and a half from now?
Yeah. Well, remember though, probably not going to see a lot of it in Energizer Park because that's not the primary where we're wear our forever red. So you'll see this on the road, but I guess that will come first in San Diego, which will be interesting. So, Justin, the next thing before we actually get into our real season preview here and a little bit of preseason is got another signing today. You know, for all the folks like, oh, whoa, really? You know, it's a signing. Definitely. It is one of our trialists that has been here, probably the most predictable of the trialists, because this is Lucas McNaughton, who is joining the club. He's a 30-year-old who will be on contract with us through June of 2027. Note the June 2027 for everyone. What does that tell you, Justin? That tells us through all of this season and through the short or the sprint season of 2027 before we go to the first full fall to spring season in 2027, 28. So you're going to start to see a lot of June ends versus December's. We also have an option, a club option on 2027, 28 for him. This is a little bit of a mixed bag, Justin, because I think I put out today high risk, maybe not even high risk just because we're not paying him a whole lot. And for us, we're not taking a huge swing going out and getting, there's no transfer fee involved. Like he was a trialist with us. But I think the reward is the most important part because I called it medium to high. For us, this is a guy that has a high floor as a player. He can play with the ball. He's an astute defender. He's had some great experience in MLS, a really weird, non-traditional path kind of coming up through the soccer ranks. But injuries have plagued McNaughton the last couple of seasons. And that's just we know that, right? We know how it feels to have injury-ridden players in this team, especially in this position. And it'll all hinge. The narrative on Lucas McNaughton will hinge on his health and availability. If he can get that, Justin, we'll get into it, but I really feel optimistic about him.
I'm optimistic as well. And as you mentioned that, Jake, sad to see King Kess is down with a hammy injury right now as well. So, but wait, let's take a step back on this guy. We talked about it. Obviously, you already mentioned, kind of came up through a non-traditional path, playing in Belgium, then going to college and Toronto. And then, but what has he done in his professional career? Once he moved into the MLS in 2022, he had 25 appearances with 20 starts for Toronto. Just a great start for a young player at that point. Traded from Toronto to Nashville for CJ Sepong in 2023. Even between those two teams, he still had 17 appearances and 15 starts for two clubs. Great season. 2024 comes around. That's when the injury bug hits. He missed 29 games due to a hip injury and then a surgery for it. And then in 2025, last season, he missed 19 games with a muscle injury. So that's where you're seeing it's like, well, does this guy, can he fit? Yes, I would say that he can absolutely play in this league and play for this team. But we've always talked about it. Some of the best, I always like tongue twist it until I say it out loud. Some of the best ability is availability.
It is. No, it is. Again, we know that firsthand because we've been bit by it by many different players now. Nilsson and Kessler, ring true. Justin, I remember this time last year, we thought about just the crisis we were already in with injuries. And I guess for me, we're taking a flyer on Lucas McNaughton. If he can give you availability and give you minutes, I think it will look like a very good piece of business from the front office and getting MLS experience, domestic product here, and someone that knows the league very well, and someone that has a high level of playing, a ball knowing, if we can actually keep him healthy. But it all hinges on that. I think it's worth the flyer, especially if he's on the supplemental roster, because what would you rather have, Justin? Let's assume everyone's available to start the season. That won't be the case because Falou Fall sounds like he's going to miss it. Mbake doesn't have his visa yet. I mean, you're already down the pecking order in the center backs. And now when you're relying on a 3 center back system, having 3 center backs healthy at all times has been basically impossible for us the last couple seasons. And also 3 center backs that you want to play being healthy at all times. So if McNaughton is another guy in that depth chart that prevents you from having to lean on players, I'm not going to name names, that you don't want to have to lean on because you've seen them crumple in certain moments, I'm all about it. It's a big challenge to the physio, to the team to manage and make sure that Lucas McNaughton stays healthy. Because I think, again, it's going to hinge on his availability.
Yeah, and I think that's one that we have never really proven as a club to keep everybody fully healthy. But on the flip side of that coin, Jake, to everybody's like, why do we keep adding these guys? This is a plug and play guy. We can't just assume that we're going to have both of the Falls and Timo good for the whole season, right? So if any of them go down, yeah, now it looks like maybe a little Pulvara, but other than that, then you're going into Kyle Hebert and Josh Yarrow. So I think this is a good guy to keep in that rotation as injuries may hit somebody else. Doesn't have to hit him. So let's look on the positive side to that. But Jake, everybody's here to hear about the season preview that we are coming together with. We can give you guys a quick preseason update as well. Obviously, we were down in IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida, lost 3-1 to the Red Bulls, all 3 cutback goals. And then we were Tampa Bay Rowdies, a 2-2 draw, 2 free kick goals from Santos and Song Bin. Now we're out in California. We actually just we had our match 3 against Portland Timbers. That was closed door friendly. But then match 4 was streamed, and we got a 1-0 dub from Simon Betcher off of an Edelman assist, kind of just pushing right into the defensive third. Glimpses of a little bit of a newer city, right? Like that higher press, a little bit more ball on the ground, playing it in a nice tidy finish from Simon there as well. Jake, what were your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, it's hard to linger too much on it, but again, it just gave you kind of a sampling. It just kind of wet the whistle on what's possible. This lineup: Santos, Polvara, Baumgartel, Orozco, Totlin, from left wing back to right wing back. So your three center backs: Polvara, Baumgartel, Orozco. We're already looking at the injury as like holy cow. Okay, Dirk and Edelman holding midfielders ahead of those five, and then Hartel, Sangben, and Betcher rounding out the three. It sounded like it looked like there was some good interplay with the forward line. In those, you kind of worry about Hartel, Justin, like how he's going to fit into that because he's not really a winger. He likes to, I would say, almost more invert from the left, come in on the left. And it sounded like he was able to do a lot of that successfully, where Sangben and Betcher are known to want to get in behind and stretch the defense, and he was able to find them in times. We also play a lot of direct balls diagonally from either Berkey or from any of your center back trio into our forwards as well. And Edelman and Durkin did a good job cleaning things up. I wasn't convinced by the defense, but again, we're not looking at our best defense at this point either. So again, it gives you some things to kind of chew on and think about. We have another match against the Galaxy on tomorrow, Wednesday, the 11th, our little Klaus reunion right before we get to the season as well. But before we have a final closed door friendly on Valentine's Day against DC and come back to St. Louis. Justin, we were talking about the unveil. We're knocking on the door of this season. Like, I cannot believe we're 11 days out already. It's mind-boggling, but we're here.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to give a shout out to Klaus. He had an assist to Gabriel Peck as well in their game over the weekend that was streamed there as well. But yeah, Jake, it's pretty insane that Valentine's Day, they are returning back to St. Louis, which is exactly 1 week ahead of not just the home opener, but the season opener for us at Energizer Park versus Charlotte, where we thought we were going to see King Kess. Probably not, but you're going to see a little Tim Ream action as well. A little welcome home for him. And I could not be more excited. The weather's starting to get a little bit nicer as well, Jake, which is a perfect time as well to give the presenting sponsor, Hoffman Brothers, a quick shout out. Again, you think the weather's getting nicer now. I promise you it's going to snow again in St. Louis. I would put money on it. Absolutely. So you need to call Hoffman Brothers 314-664-3011 if you haven't already. You need to get that home protection plan or visit them at hoffmanbros.com. They're going to take care of you because guess what? If it doesn't snow, I bet you it'll hit 90 degrees in the next month and a half anyways. Something wild's going to happen. It's not just global warming. It's St. Louis weather through and through. It's been happening forever.
It has. It has. And as we look at, Hoffman Brothers to help us rein in the times of year, we, Justin, tried to approach this season in sort of blocks or like times of the season because the season's so damn long. February through October and now into November. So, and that's just talking regular season. So what we tried to do, we did this last year too, Justin, but I think I found it useful for myself and hopefully for you all as well as listeners, is we broke it into, a 34 game season, kind of broken into 5 blocks, pretty much 7 game blocks. And we also called out areas where you could be playing, cup matches with US Open Cup. But this first slate, Justin, I want to start with, I kind of dubbed this our statement of intent, right? Who are we going to come out swinging as? That'll be from February to mid-April, doing a lot of your early shaping of your narrative. Like, is this a new City 2.0, Yoan Ball, like whatever they want to call it? Like, this is our representing ourselves, with a new front office, totally revamped, a new coach, and a lot of turnover in our roster as well, but a lot more to come. I think, Justin, for me, the narrative for block one is where it was for us last year. Remember how optimistic we were, right? You can't get too over your skates on this. We came out swinging with a lot of clean sheets last year. We weren't as great in front of goal, but it didn't matter because we weren't letting goals in either. I think for us is you cannot let the first block get away from you. We have 3 home matches, 4 away, and you're playing some big opposition, 2 away from home that were in the upper echelons of the West in the playoffs last year in San Diego and LAFC, Justin. We also play Seattle at home as one of our bigger games. What do you look for in a first block of 7, Justin, before you kind of get into the summer and into more of the congestion?
Yeah, so Jake, it's not an easy block. It's actually based on last year's standings. It is our hardest block. So based on last year's Supporters Shield standings, the average rank of the teams that we are playing is 10. So that means that we are basically averaging a top 10 team throughout these 7 games. However, I do want to caveat that with one, it was kind of surprising to me. Charlotte finished 7th in Supporters Shield. That is a very strong team. The one thing that I was trying to talk to you about this before as well is we do get a little bit of a break from that sense between them and San Diego. So Charlotte, even though they finished 7th in Supporters Shield, They were the 15th team in away games, which means they were way better at home than they were away, which is a good sign for us for a home opener. And then looking at San Diego, they finished 4th in Supporter Shield last season. However, their home rank, and we have to go play them, so they would be playing at home in our second game, that was 18th in the MLS. They were the number 1 team ranked when they were playing away. So that was even more impressive for them. But it almost says, hey, the door's a little bit open for us. Those are the 2 largest swings for us throughout the entire season, Jake, of that math that I put together of where'd you finish in Supporter Shield versus where do you play home and away in the records of standing. So yes, it's a tough go for playing 2 teams that were 7th in Supporter Shield last year, then 4th in Supporter Shield. However, both of them were on the opposite sides of Charlotte was worse when they played away, and San Diego was worse when they played at home. So a little bit of a positive for us.
Yeah, agreed, Justin. And look at block 2, right? So now we're moving from mid-April to late May. This also is a time of year where we will drop into the US Open Cup in the round of 32. That will be from April 14th to 15th. And, God willing, we advance in that. The round of 16 is April 28th to 29th. And God willing, once more, if we advance from the round of 16, the quarterfinals are May 19th to 20th. And I mention all of that in sort of back-to-back succession is because the tournament doesn't go that quickly typically. They're squeezing a lot of this in because of the World Cup and not playing games this summer. But if we are going to make a run in the U.S. Open Cup, this really mid-April to late May timeframe could feature a lot of matches if we perform during U.S. Open Cup. So obviously we want to. But this is, again, where you start to, I think, face a little more match buildup in terms of fixtures. I also think as a team, you've again come out and shown, at least a statement of intent. You're definitely going to face some more adversity in this block of games, even if it's not your most difficult block of games. And I think you're also going to have to, because of all the fixtures, start to lean on some of your depth pieces, whether that's through injury or just thoughtful, intentional rotation from Yoann Demey and coaching staff. It's going to be a time where more of your overall team is tested and pushed more to the limits. Also have a nice day game in here, Justin, which I'm looking forward to.
We have 2 day games in this one, Jake.
Yeah.
So both of these, but they are both. Oh, wait, no. One's a home, the Austin at 1:45. That's our last game before the World Cup. But then we're also, both of the Austin games are day games. And then down in Austin on May 3rd. So that's pretty cool. As far as this tranche or this block goes, this is technically the second easiest of our 5 blocks. But the one game I do want to call out that is a little bit more of a nervy one. Again, Colorado. It's an 8:30 p.m. kickoff, which is the latest of our games in this block as well. We are at Colorado. They finished 21st in Supporter Shield last season. So not very great, but they were 12th from a home team perspective. So it's going to be a tougher trip for us going out that way. But Jake, I want to mention another thing for this before we get into the next tranche. It's going to be very interesting on how this team is keeping fit or how they're planning to really push guys, because it's not a full season, right? Like this is almost 2 seasons because, reminder, our last game in this tranche is May 23rd. Our next game after that is 54 days later on July 16th. So when you think about that from an injury standpoint, if we do have any knocks, good God, those guys almost have 2 full months to get healthy, which in a time period during that span, you would usually miss like 14 games or so, like half the season. So 1, you can push yourself there. 2, and also you don't have to really worry about guys getting leggy on the back end of the season when they have that much time in between. I think the only one that will likely be called up to their national team is Sang-bin. And going with South Korea. And that's still yet to be even determined. Otherwise, unless I'm confused, I don't believe we have any other guys that are going to be going to the World Cup.
Yeah, probably not. And I also got to think about Justin during that time frame. Again, now we're in block 3, the new season, right? And that will commence, like you said, in mid-July, ending in late August. The transfer window opens back up again. And you'd expect teams to kind of be reloading, right? Because you've had 14 games to establish yourself and get a foothold in the table on what you're going to be. And if you're Corey Ray, if you're the sporting department, this World Cup, unless your team is, sending a lot of guys to play for their national teams, in which case it's not a break at all. This is going to be a luxury to get guys healthy and just to take inventory of what's going on in the team, where you have gaps, where you have holes, where you have some expiring contracts. You could maybe shift some players on or bring rentals on to kind of refuel or kick the team into a higher gear as you head into the final kind of 2/3 of the season, Justin, it's going to be really interesting. It's almost like a soft reset of the MLS season, kind of like Liga MX with the Apertura and the Clausura. Really interesting.
It is very interesting, Jake. And I think the one thing that you mentioned that's a great call out is, yeah, the players might be resting if we're not with national teams. Corey Ray will not. That's when that man is going to be ramping up, because that's a perfect time. Because otherwise, you're usually mid-season like, oh my God, we got a game in a week, but we're losing points, we're dropping points, we got to do something, we got to sell a guy, buy a guy, take a break. 54 days of no point movements, nothing in the standings, whatever. And that's where you can really be like, all right, who's willing to talk? Who's willing to listen? Who wants what? And I think it's going to be a very telling time for this team. In this third one as well, Jake, no day games. Other positive point, both Kansas City games. Negative point, both during the week. But we do have 2 late ones as well. That's when we go to the LA Galaxy, a 9:30 kickoff on July 22nd. Call that one out for Mr. Klaus. And then we're also going out to San Jose on August 15th. That's a 9:30 kick. But Jake, another huge positive point on this. This is by far our easiest tranche. The average Supporter Shield rank for this group of 7 games is 23. Reminder, there's only 30 teams in the MLS. There's only one team that's inside of the top 20 from last season, and that's Real Salt Lake. The rest of these teams finished in the bottom 10 of the MLS last season, and we are going to be fully healthy. This is where we need to gain points. Jake, I'm not kidding. 7 games. Jake, I want 13 points. I want 4 dubs and a tie out of that. I think that is like an achievable goal. That's also a little bit higher. If you get 4 dubs and a tie out of 7 games, so that's 13 out of a possible 21. That's pretty solid for this team.
No, Justin, I didn't even think about that. I was looking at what you're looking at, and I didn't connect the dots. Yeah, RSL, by the way, biggest posers to be in the best of these teams. But what an opportunity. Again, once again, block 3, again, you wouldn't want it anywhere else, right? It's right smack dab in the middle of this season, and it's also right after a really long, restful break. And then, again, that's going to be the case for almost all these teams as well. Maybe outside of your LA Galaxy, they might send some more players or whatnot, but block 3, look at that middle of the season, July 16th to August 22nd, as being regardless of what's come before us, this is your opportunity to right the ship if things haven't gone that way. And Justin, I agree. I think a 13 point out of a possible 21, knowing this competition and also not knowing anything about how they're going to start the season, I think that's got to be something that Corey Ray and Yohan Demay and the team have circled in the calendars to say, we have an opportunity. Even if things haven't gone our way, this is a moment or a block where we can actually pick up points and aggregate, because we know just how important it is as we get into block 4 and block 5, Justin, to just collect. Like it's just chipping away and work your way up the table.
Exactly. And Jake, another big call out in this, I just realized it from a date perspective. So 4 of those 7 games are at home, which is always a positive. Number 2, we play Real RSL on August 1st. We then get another 14-day break. We have a bye. So we have 4 games in a span of 16 days. Yep. But then we get 14 days off again after just having 54 days off. So this is truly a massive, massive time of the season, smack dab in the middle of the year. But it's like you said, it's almost a new season right after the World Cup.
I think it's a Leagues Cup related absence, Justin. I think that's when Leagues Cup initiates on the 4th, and they'll do their group stage like they normally do. And again, we're not in that, so we don't need to worry about it. But I'm sure some of the teams that we will be playing, probably not many of the teams in block 3, to be honest. But when we get to block 4 and beyond, a lot of those teams will have been playing already in Leagues Cup. And so they'll, again, kind of be thrown right back into the mix with multiple games per week due to Leagues Cup and their commitments there. So let's move into block 4. So again, now we're talking late August, mid-October. So we're not just after the World Cup. We're well after now, kind of getting into the latter summer, early stages of fall. And the U.S. Open Cup semifinal is in this time period, September 15th to 16th. Again, God willing. At this point, the heat's kind of dissipated, but you've probably got some injuries, again, coming from this last block. You're probably the guys have got to be getting a little bit mentally tired, and minutes are starting to kind of accumulate on legs. This is where I think, Justin, it really becomes an inflection point for the team. You have to prioritize points by any means necessary. We do have 4 home matches in this span and 3 away. We have Vancouver away. That's one of those just tough away matches to get to. We have Minnesota and James Rodriguez at home. at this time. We have Toronto and possibly Josh Sargent at home at this time. We have the New York Red Bulls on our inaugural game against them away. So, I mean, a little Tim Parker reunion, a lot. And finally, we finished with LA Galaxy at home. So, Justin, block 4 is about storylines for me. It's about a lot of reunions, a lot of big heavyweight matchups. And I get excited talking about it.
It's block 4 is by far when you're looking at it, you're like circling that one. Obviously, it's going to be a tough start. Then we're going to get a nice, easy, second one's like, all right, it's kind of just there. Third one, you're back and it's easy. Let's gain points. Then we get into this, Jake. It's like, all right, first one in this block, Dallas at home. We could probably take that one. I am nervous about at Vancouver and then at Portland midweek. So we play at Vancouver on a Saturday. Then you're just staying up there. There's no way we're coming back. You're going to Portland on a Wednesday night at 9:30 p.m. And then guess what? After both of those, you have to come home and play Minnesota on Saturday. But also a reminder, James Rodriguez may not be with the team. It's like a short-term stint. They may just sign him through the World Cup. But either way, it's a massive one. And then we're Toronto at home. Yeah, Josh Sargent maybe. Then you got to go to New York for the first time ever. And then we welcome Santa Claus back home on October 11th. So, yes, this tranche is a very interesting one. And then, Jake, I also want to mention, not only have we never been to New York, they are a little bit of like a juggernaut at home as well. They finished 18th in the Supporter Shield. No, at home, they finished 8th. 8th best team at home during the regular season. Is that because they play at Yankee Stadium, like the Mickey Mouse thing? Like, do they have is our goal like automatically bigger than theirs as well? Is that this stuff that they're pulling up there?
Who knows, man? The James thing, good call out. I learned today that they have a club option, I think at least for the rest of the season. So if you're a St. Louis fan, you're hoping that he does well in Minnesota, and he does well in Minnesota. You know why? Because he needs to make the Colombian national team. And you're hoping that the Colombian national team does well in the World Cup so he can probably and hopefully prove himself to Minnesota. Because, again, that's a club option that, they need to keep him for the rest of the season, in which case he would come to St. Louis, which would be so cool. I don't care if you like him or not. Like, it's one of those names that you kind of just grew up knowing about if you like soccer. So we finish off with block 6 or block 5, Justin. I say 6 because there's only 6 games in this time frame for us. It's our shortest block, just the way we kind of structured it all out. And the U.S. Cup Open Cup final would be during this time on October 21st. But at this point, the chips have kind of fallen. Where they exactly fell is what gets decided in this time. Like, who's able to collect just a couple more points and push their position in the table just even marginally higher up for us. And I think, Justin, it becomes our second most difficult block. So it will be a tougher run-in for us. You have your couple bogey games where, you look at St. Louis hosting Vancouver or hosting San Diego, where things could go either way. And there's definitely some more difficult teams. Like a San Diego was the best away team last year. Definitely not going to make it easy for us. But Justin, if I could just for 1 second hop in my time traveling machine and just zip us to October and just take a glimpse at where we're at in the table, I would kill for it because I just don't know what to expect this season. And block 6 is going to tell us a lot. Or sorry, block 5 is going to tell us a lot.
Yeah, so block 5 with 6 games, a little bit of a tongue twister, as you mentioned. But at that point, Jake, all right, so let's say there's 6 games left, 18 possible points. I would like for us to be at 35 points. I think that's where you're kind of in the hunt. We always talked about it at like 45 points usually gets you right around that mark of like making the playoffs. So if we're 10 points short and we got to make a push, that's a fun time to do it. Yes, we're hosting Vancouver. That's a plus. Going to Minnesota, always tough, but it's a day game. Kind of weird one there. And then you're at RSL, like you said, a little bit fraudy. Back at home for 2 tough ones, but back at home nonetheless for Portland and San Diego. And then you're going to Houston. Houston in November. Much rather be doing that than going to Houston in July. So absolutely, I think if we are at 35 points going into this stretch, it's going to be a nervy one because I think that we could possibly snag 10 out of 18 here. It would be a tough run. But, Jake, you never know what we're going to be doing at this point. So if we want to feel safe about it, I think we need to be at 40 points going into that stretch, and we just got to somehow scrounge out like 6 or something. Okay. But I think if we're at 35, we've got a shot.
All right, well, we're going to hear your predictions in a second here on points and overall record. But before we do so, Justin, let's talk about the depth. Let's talk about the starting 11 and the guys that sit, probably beneath those. As of right now, again, we can't say exactly what the starting 11 is going to look like, but we're going to try. And I think when we're saying 11, Justin, we're saying best 11 to kind of start. And again, we've already kind of gone through it in our minds, but again, we're also assuming health and no transactions between, right now and the season beginning. So in our best of 11, if available, right, barring injury, you've obviously got Berkey. Your three center backs would be Falufal, Baumgartel in the middle, and Mbake on the right center back. For us, we are Wallem on the left wing back, Totland on the right wing back. There's murmurs, and we've seen in preseason Totland being tried at that right center back position as well. Could be, both something they actually really do want to try. Also, could be something they're just doing because Mbake's not here, no visa yet. But that would be our back three, back five. Leuven and Edelman sitting in front of them. And then Hartel, Betcher, Sangbin in the front three, just like we've seen already in preseason, Justin. But let's talk about the depth pieces, because we are definitely amassing a little bit more on the center back side. I feel like that's where we kind of focused a lot of our attention recently with Polvara and now with McNaughton. What convinces you, or what sticks out to you as part of our depth?
Originally, when we made this and we had Polvara as a 6, we had 5 6s on the bench, which made sense. So like, hey, that's a little bit much, fellas. Maybe let's pull one back. So Polvara is now in the center back line. You have that with Hebert, Orozco, Yarrow, Lillington, and now McNaughton. So it makes sense. So you have 2 behind each of the respective starters. Obviously, Santos, it seems like, might be getting the nod to do the left back. We're talking about where's Vollem going? Where's his starting lineup? Is he going to be a utility guy? Whatnot. I would say, depending on where he goes, we're a little bit light at right back, especially for pulling Totland back to the right center back. Right now, we currently had Pierce there, which is not a guy that you would expect to even be making the lineup very often this season, much less being the first guy off the bench at a position. Going forward, though, this is where I get excited. I'm looking at that front three and who would be replacing when we have Hartel, Sangbin, and Simon up top. Then you got a Celio and a Joyner I have on the left side, and you have a Toy Shirt and a Glover on the right side. 2 very different styles of play, not only in the left and right, but then also looking at like Toy Shirt compared to Celio, and then Jordan and Glover are just fun and exciting nonetheless. And then Mr. McScorley up top. I really do think, Jake, that he is going to be an X factor for this team. If he can come in and do what he did last year and just be an absolute bull in a china shop and just wreaking havoc on defenders, just flying around, I really hope that he can keep that hunger throughout this entire season. But he could be a fun one for us.
The cool thing with McSorley is, again, he wasn't really even on the radar last year until like very late on in the season. And Justin, I'm just looking at the crystal ball, just because of Klaus's departure and no known incoming at this point. I think he's going to get a lot of minutes here. When I'm saying a lot of minutes, I mean, we could be talking 1,000 plus for McSorley in MLS this season, which if you had told me that last year, I would have laughed. Like, because it just wasn't feasible. It wasn't realistic. I also hope that Joyner gets similar. Like, if there's a year where you can actually put a little more weight and lean on some younger players, this is the time. Like, no one expects too much of us right now. You might as well really, really blood some of your more optimistic youth products. Does Miggy Perez get a run on the team more? He's still on the roster. We've already mentioned Tyson Pierce. Is he really your only guy at right wing back if we have an injury to a Wallem, if he's going to play there, or Tolan, if he's going to play there? Even Orozco. Joyner is who I really want to see, Justin. I just want to see, we've seen such good things from him at the MLS Next Pro level, and we've seen some good things as well in the first team, but it hasn't translated exactly yet. And I don't expect it to either, but we're kind of getting to that precipice, Justin, where I feel like, as a youth player, someone at some point needs to show you what they're made of. We can't just keep leaning on what you've done in lower leagues or your high potential or your appearances for U.S. youth national teams. At some point, you have to make your arrival, right? You just say, I am here. I belong here. This is my position. Or maybe I'm just a guy that we can count on in certain situations and scenarios. Joyner has to make that jump this year.
I think Joyner absolutely makes that jump this year. And I do want to give everybody a frame of reference. When you said like 1,000 minutes, that sounds like a ton, right? When you take the 34 games times 90 minutes, it's just over 3,000 minutes. So when we say 1,000 minutes, we're looking at about a third of the season. So that's not saying starting the first 11, 12 games and then sitting on the bench. It's bringing a guy in at the 60th minute. He could be that guy, getting a couple starts. So for reference for everybody, who had just around 1,000 minutes last year? Thomas Ostrak, Totland, and Morales, Durkin. These are guys where you'd see more like a role player, but a consistent role player. Last season, McSorley only had 272 minutes. That's literally 3 full 90s. and then Joyner only had 360. That's 4 full 90s. Sorry, doing quick math in my head, late night. But I think those guys absolutely make the jump. And I would be, honestly, Jake, a little upset if both of them aren't 900 plus minutes. I would like for them to get 10 full 90s throughout this season because, to your point, why not? What else? And maybe I'll take a quick step back there. That's with their current roster. Who knows with the DP9 coming in, like that would change everything. But currently, if no moves are made there, you're going to have to get McSorley in there for Betcher for minutes. He's going to be coming on in the 60th, 70th minute, fresh legs, bull and china cabinet. Then you're also going to be looking at Joyner. He could come in at right back, left back, push him up and be the replacement for Sangbin or Hartel, depending on what you're going to do with Celio and Toy Shirt there as well. So these guys are going to get their time. It's just a matter of when and how much.
Yeah, I agree. And talking about guys, Justin, we're putting our stake in the sand on what we think is going to be the situation for some superlatives for our players this year. Our golden ball or team MVP, golden boot. We're going to skip golden glove. I have a good feeling I know who's going to win that one this year. Breakout player as well as The Rock, Justin. But team MVP is a place where you and I are singing from the same song sheet. I just think this writes itself. Like, our golden ball, your most important player, your most valuable player, if this player exited or was hurt for the season, would effectively sink our hopes for any semblance of a good season. It's Marcel Hartel. There's just no other comparison at this point for me. Like, he is the lifeblood of a successful season for St. Louis City SC.
Yeah, sorry for anybody that was watching visually. I was trying to pull it up because Hartel, I wanted to make sure I got this correct. Hartel started and played in all 34 matches last season. He led the team in minutes and led all field players in minutes behind one person, Carlos Gil, and he had 9 goals and 6 assists for us. Yes, it's got to be an automatic, right? For that guy, he ran the most miles in the MLS. So this is a guy that is just an absolute workhorse, and I think with a lot of moving parts around him, we're going to need him throughout, whether it be scoring the goals, assisting on it, just working hard on the field. And so he's got to be our golden ball winner.
Yeah. Let's double down, Justin. Let's talk about golden boot, because I took copy paste and dropped Hartel straight into this. And you guys might not think that. Like, you also might think it because who else is going to score the goals? You're leaning on Betcher and McSorley probably at this point. And I'm not saying neither of those two are going to take off. I really hope that one of them at least, or if not both of them, carry a significant portion of the load. In a weird way, Justin, I kind of hope I'm wrong, but I also have Hartel as our golden boot winner. People forget he had 9 goals last season, like you just mentioned, 9 goals, 6 assists. He was competing with the Clouds to that last day, up to that PK in our final match. For those goal contributions. He's got a wicked shot, a wicked boot. Sometimes he just turns it on, whether it's the curler from distance or just the banger from in tight. He's got those goal scoring boots, and he is the guy you go to when things just don't go right sometimes. Like, if anyone's going to score, Justin, in crunch time, I'd put money on Hartel for us. But I also got specific here, Justin. I think for me, even if he's not the leader in terms of goals for this season, I'm still thinking that he's going to be. I think he's got to have 20 plus goal contributions for us to have a good season. Like, I'm talking 20 plus G's and A's. So we had 15 last season. I think he's got to be 10 and 10. He's got to be 15 and 5. More likely, probably ends up more in like the equivalent, right? Like, where like a 10 and 10 kind of feels more like Hartel. But I still think if you're going to have a good season productively in your attack, Hartel pulls all those strings, especially in a Leuven-less world. We don't know if we can count him or not, Justin. He's going to have all the tools for us to do anything on the attacking third.
I think that's a fair point. But I wanted to be a little bit different on this one. And I actually truly think that this has a chance here is Simon Betcher. I think this guy, we already know that he has incredible finishing ability from being, the quickest 4 goals in MLS history. I think he did it in 88 minutes or something absurd. When he first came to the league. And then also don't forget what he did when he first came for us again. And he finally got that starting spot and he had a chance. He scored 4 goals in 550 minutes. He didn't even score one in the last game. So really he scored 4 goals in like 460 minutes. So this is a guy that was scoring almost a goal a game for us at the beginning. I think now that we don't have Klaus, he's going to step up in that role. I think we're going to keep the ball on the floor a lot more and he's going to find those runs. He's also kind of a thick dude, Jake. We talked about this. He's going to get in behind guys. He's going to knock them off, and he just knows how to finish. He knows where the goal is. Doesn't even have to look up. My Slew Billiken is going to be the Golden Boot winner for this St. Louis City team in 2026.
Oh, that would be amazing. God, if he could find that 2024, when he just arrived on the scene for us for him, I could see it. And I think the game model shift, Justin, is really going to help him because we no longer have a hold up striker anymore.
Right.
There is no Klaus on this team. You're going to have to go in behind. You're going to have to go vertical. And that's Simon's bread and butter, just being a menace behind the back line. So I'm looking forward to that. I like that pick. Breakout player. And I want to color this too. This does not mean first season or like even rookie. Like for us, Justin, it just means who is going to surprise you this season? Who is going to step up and just level up their game? And I'm going with a new boy. I'm going with Edelman for my breakout player. I liked the video, the footage of his role in Betcher's goal in that preseason match. We've heard during interviews that between him and Yohan, they see him playing in a more advanced position up the field. He's really known more as a 6 and kind of holding midfielder right now, and he does a good job at that. Can you get him to maybe level up more into a Leuven type of role, improve his passing accuracy, his overall vision of the field, and help connect the dots between your defense and attack, not just a destroyer 6. And you saw how high up he won that ball in that preseason match. If that's where he's going to play, I think you could see when you look at opposing teams, this is a new version of Edelman. You really don't know what to expect from him. And for a guy that's as driven as he is and as young as he is, and as much prove-itness as I feel like he's brought to this team so far, I have excited aspirations for Edelman. He's going to be a part of this team for a long time, and I think he's going to want to start off with a bang.
I think that's absolutely a great pick because I do think that he's going to be one that's going to be a key role player for us. Not a key. He's going to have a key role in this team, not a role player. I think he'd easily be a starter next to Leuven. But Jake, I'm going for breakout player. I'm going Sang-bin. This is one where last season he only had 9 appearances for us and 9 starts. So that's a reminder for everybody. He came over from Minnesota middle of the season. Before that, they were only starting him 2 games out of their 15 because they had such a high offensive power as is. And so he just didn't find the right fit there. Before that, the season before in 2024, so his last full season with the club, 32 games played, 25 starts, 6 goals, 2 assists. I think that guy, now that he's going to have a solidified starting role for this team, watch out. Don't forget, this guy's only 23 years old. He'll be turning 24 on April 1st upcoming. And this guy is going to be like lightning in a bottle. I really do think that he can bring a lot of energy to the team. He's going to be flying around, and he also knows how to finish the ball. So my breakout player of the season is Mr. Sang-bin.
Ooh. Okay, the Rock Award, Justin. It's so funny looking at these picks, realizing that both of us picked new guys. Neither of us picked Baumgartel. Neither of us picked Fallu Fall. I'm buying Lucas McNaughton stock. I know I'm stupid. I know that every fabric in my brain wants to tell me, Jake, don't do it. Don't do it because he's been hurt a lot. For some reason, I just have this weird inkling that we're going to be able to maintain his health at this club. I don't know why. I'm not going to say why, but I think we will. And from what we've been able to see of him in MLS over the course of his career, I think he's going to bring some really exciting stuff in the back line for us. Like, I really think he's a solid center back. And again, it all hinges on the health. If he can be healthy, I think he will become a City fan's favorite defender, though I do like your choice as well.
My choice, another guy that is yet to play a single minute for this team, doesn't even have the green light to play a minute for this team yet, is Mbake Fall. So on this one, Jake, it's really, I looked at it and it's like, Fallu Fall, yes, could be exciting. I think Mbake can have a little bit more of a presence for this team. I think he can be more of a standout. Yes, Fallu Fall is a standout as well. I'm not trying to knock him as well. But also looking at it, Timo Baumgartel, I think he could probably be our mainstay as a guy on this team as well. And just, he's your guy that is probably just going to get things done. But I think this is more of the exciting pick. I think Mbake Fall, when you look at those highlights, this is a guy that is going in hard. And he also knows once he wins it, he has a great foot on him to be able to redistribute those balls. And that's what I'm excited for. Get into a crunching tackle, get back on your feet, and send Simon Betcher in behind. And I think that's what he can do for this team. So I'm excited. Like you said, this is a tough one for the boys. We don't even know who's going to be starting at center back for this team, or much less the back line as a whole. So a tough pick, but it's a fun pick for both of us nonetheless.
Final couple sections for us here in the season preview. First one we have here, Justin, is your predictions, your record predictions for the team. But before we get into it, I'll give you a couple minutes here. Let's talk objectively about what's likely needed to achieve some level of postseason berth this season in MLS. So let's reference 2025 as a starting point. For the Western Conference teams, need 41 points to get into a wild card spot. 44 for a guaranteed round one spot. That's an away spot. And then you need 58 for round one home field advantage. What that tells you, Justin, is just the disparity between like some of your top 4 teams and like the rest of the pack in the West. In the East, those numbers were 53 to get into the wild card, 54 to get into round one guaranteed, and 59 for home field advantage. So just very big level of disparity besides the guaranteed round one home teams between the West and the East. But remember, 34 games in a season for us in terms of MLS games. Wins, you're going to need at least or equal to 11, since no team under 11 got into the playoffs in 2025, which also kind of surprises me. Losses need probably less than or equal to 13. And only one team, that being RSL, which is why I made my comment earlier, was able to get into the playoffs with more than 13 losses. I believe they had 17 losses and they got into the playoffs, which tells you a lot about the Western Conference. The draws kind of fill in the gap. So 11 wins, at least 13 wins, 13 losses. You don't want any more than that. Leaves you with about 10 draws and room there, Justin. So what do you think is going to happen this season? I got record-wise 10, 14, and 10. Win-loss draw for us. That would put us at 40 points. Likely, this line always shifts because of the performance around in the conferences, and I'm glad to see those go away here soon. But that would probably put us within striking distance, but just short of the playoffs.
That's a fair point. And I want to give a shout out to Soccer Wise guys. They set the line at 42.5. They were split, if I remember correctly. I think only one of them went for the over. And I'm hammering the over too, Jake. I'm going with 43. It's not a hammer. I'm literally going to take that by a half point. I think that we get 43 points, and it's going to be an absolute sweaty one. And I think we're going to have our first decision day matter. We're going to be going down to Houston. And even if we win, we might not even hold our own fate at that point, right? But I think that this team has the opportunity to just show some fight in them. I really do think that, like, at some point, it's like, what do you got to lose? And I do think that we have some very technically sound guys. I have a lot of faith in Johan May and the style that we were talking to Lee about tonight. I think this is going to be a fun team to watch. Yeah, I'm a little nervous about where the goals are going to come from, but I have some faith in Corey Ray and team to sign somebody to do that as well. I could see it. It's probably not going to come until around that World Cup time. So please, guys, don't bury us before that because it could be a hard hole to climb out of. But I feel really good about post-World Cup playing that stretch of games where we're only playing one team inside of the top 20. And that was RSL with some of the most losses ever to make a playoff team. I'm going with 43 total points for this team.
Justin, as you were saying, I almost thought about I did think about something. We were doing the superlatives and putting our own projections in there. I almost put for the Golden Boot, possibly you. You know, like whatever the new striker is that we get, I could realistically see that person becoming the Golden Boot potentially if we do invest in the DP number 9 over the summer or right now. You know, I could be surprised. You know who else is feeling a little bit iffy on us, Justin, is Vegas. Vegas has got it as plus 6,500 to win MLS Cup. That's the second worst odds. We are tied with Toronto, New England, and Montreal for MLS Cup odds. We are also the second worst odds to win the Western Conference at plus 4,000. So very much worse than last year. I looked at our document from last year, Justin. I don't think we will be this, by the way. I think we'll be better than this for sure. But it does show you, again, from an objective, totally non-biased perspective, just crunching the numbers and the data, that we're long shots to be competitive this season.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But I would say the one thing on this that I have learned is that Vegas, I don't think follows the MLS as I know they don't follow the MLS as closely as some of like the NFL and stuff. So like some of these lines are absolutely out there. And like, yeah, we've struggled as a team the past 2 years. So some of them have been fair, but that first year, Jake, we were just printing money. And I think there's a very good chance that you could do that again this year. It's just, there's not enough manpower. We know that there's not behind the scenes on these. So yeah, Vegas has those lines. I bet you if you look at them, they're probably almost exactly the same as how everybody finished in Supporter Shield last year as well. Because that's also what the MLS does when they come up with their rankings.
Yeah.
Like every week, it's like, oh, what's the power rankings? I swear to God, they just copy and paste it, put it into an article, and be like, yeah, this team moved up because they had a great performance. Like, no, they just got 3 more points. They moved up. They moved up. So that's how I kind of feel about the whole Vegas thing too.
All right, key questions, Justin, before we get to what a success looks like for us. I just wrote down a couple, and if you want to think about some, feel free to throw them out here as well. But I think things I'm looking for, things we need to get answered this season. Defense. Are we finally settling this defense? We were absolutely steamrolled last year at times defensively, especially in transition. We let in so many goals last season, more than we're comfortable letting in, more than we have ever let in any season so far. Can we settle down the defense and stop becoming so leaky, especially blowing leads? Secondarily, who's going to lead the attack? Who is your new front man? It was Klaus, and love him or hate him again, he was the front man. Who is going to take the reins? I think naturally look at Betcher, like you called out in your Golden Boot winner prediction. Is it McSorley? Is it by committee? Who knows? Who's going to take the attack by the horns and lead us? I think as well, just thematically, Justin, just from a game model perspective, are we actually going to really start to see some semblance of what Yohan Deme wants to do, like live on the field? Are we going to see us control a tempo, play with the ball, have possession, be able to play incisively, kind of poke and prod at teams, not just rely on transitions and fast breaks and counterattacks to manufacture our goals? Do we show different types of ball knowing just to be able to break teams down? Again, we can't just go back to the same thing every single time. Can we show a little more diversity and be able, and by the way, Justin, the best teams do that. So we're going to live and die sometimes by our game model this year and wanting to play more at the ball and on the front foot, like be the antagonists we've heard in some press conferences so far. That's going to be painful at times. It's going to bite us in the ass for sure. But do we see the evolution start at least?
I think that's in a part of that evolution, Jake, is a question you have on here is, can they close games? And I really hope so, because I do think if I need to pull the stats back up, but I'm not kidding. I think it was less than like 45 minutes of total games where if we just closed them out, we actually would have made the playoffs. We would have.
It was not the minutes, but this will help. I think we dropped 29 points from winning positions across 34 matches played.
Yeah, and you're going to lose some of those, right? I think that's where, when I added it up, I think it was literally like 42 total minutes where if you just see the game out across like 4 or 5 games for the last 10 to 5 to 2 minutes on some of those, you make the playoffs. And I would really love to see Yohan kind of implement that strategy. Don't give me the Greg Berhalter, like, hey, it's 1-1, like park the bus. Like, no. Play the game out and see it through all the way, because I really do think that's going to be important for these guys, because that's just draining. We've talked about it. Like, it's not just training for fans, it's training for the guys. You play a full 90 and then you give one up in the last 3 minutes and you either drop from the 1 point that you had to 0 points and the opposition gets 3, or you had 3 points, you drop 2 points and you drop to a tie there. So this is one that I think is going to be extremely, extremely important for this team this year as well.
Yeah, I agree, Justin. Let's talk. And health is, of course, a huge priority this season. If we're going to be successful, we're going to have to do better at managing health for our key players across the course of a 34-game season. I do think they get a little bit of levity with the World Cup break. Hopefully that can kind of repair us if we are struggling with some sort of injury crisis at some point. I didn't put it on here, Justin, but I think Roman Berkey is my last one I want to talk about. I think he's got to be closer to 2023 Berkey than we saw in 2024 and 2025. And I think if you can shore up the defense and not just leave him totally nude in front of some incredible chances and some incredible players, I think he will benefit from that. And not because he needs a great defense in front of him, but because it just the quality of chances he faced the last couple seasons, just because of the lapses in our defense. I just don't think there are many goalkeepers that could have done much better given what he inherited. But you're going to need game breaker Berkey. You're going to need huge saves all season long from this guy. He's got to return to that. Does the new contract kind of give him a little bit of a flame? Like, this club believes in me. They paid a lot of money for me. They're making me a designated player. There's not many like those in this league. Does he take that personally and really cement himself kind of in a comeback fashion of one of the top goalkeepers in MLS?
He's going to need to be. And Jake, I need to bring some of our listeners back in. You just described Roman Berkey as totally nude. That is definitely a site where I'm sure we just lost people and now they're just like daydreaming. But no, on this one, in all honesty, you could see the frustration on him, and a lot of that came from the back line. There were some mistakes though that we were shocked by. It's like, how did he drop that? How did he not make it? Like, and it was more of like, with his feet as well. I want him to lock in, get back in, prove that you are worth that money that we gave you, that DP money, and then this is a guy that we're going to move forward with because he's going to be that mainstay. I do think, Jake, remember, don't forget, last season, he also had a massive injury throughout the season. That gave Ben Lunt almost 1,000 minutes. I think he had 900 or so. So he had almost 8 or 9 starts last season. If Roman Berkey can stay healthy, I think that does wonders for the chemistry of this back line, the direction that he is able to give, not only with the ball at his feet or at his hands, but also just speaking to that back line, corner kicks, all of it, all the above. I think him staying healthy is going to be a huge piece of the team as well.
Final topic of the day, Justin, for us is success and what that looks like, because I think we all like to think that we're thinking the same thing a lot of the time, but we've talked about the U.S. men's national team, Justin, and like, again, planting your flag. What does success look like? And I want to try to keep this to start at least some more objectivity, like where do you finish and are you in the playoffs or not? Justin, I'll start with you. What do you think you would deem to be success this year? And try to just keep it to Justin. Like, I think front office might have some different views, and we can talk about what their view would be. But what do you think would be a successful season objectively for the club this season?
For Justin, success is making the playoffs, and I'm not kidding. At this point, Jake, I thought about it more. Yes, we got rid of some pieces here and there. We have the pieces currently in the front office and whatnot to be able to be a successful team. I don't think it's successful to be fighting for a playoff spot. That is not the club that we are, and I don't think that I would be happy with this season. So for me, it's making the playoffs. There's also, I love this stat because I think it's absolutely ridiculous when you look at it from an American sports standpoint. It is harder to miss the playoffs than it is to make it. 18 of the 30 teams get into the playoffs. I'll count the wild card as a positive for us. So that means, what is that, 60% or so? Only 40% of teams miss it. We need to not be in that 40% this year. You got to give me a little bit of something here. And that's what I think success would be for us. What about you?
I think, again, for Jake, I would go towards your direction. I would say playoff berth. And even I don't want, we'll talk about exceeding expectations, because I think, Justin, what we just talked about was that's meeting expectations, right? Like that success for us is meeting expectation.
Right.
Let's talk about, I think, meeting expectation, maybe, and I'm going to put myself in the club shoes. I don't think it's that specific yet. I think that it's more based on some maybe more tangibles or intangibles of culturally, where are we moving to? Who's cementing more of a name for themselves in this team? Are we seeing a new game model that's repeatable that we can bring to our academies and start to bring guys up in? Are we seeing the breakthrough of some younger players, like Joyner collecting a lot more minutes and a lot more of a role in this team? Same with a Pierce, for example, or does Miggy Perez make a comeback? Like, I think they're looking at a lot of other things, not just that. But I agree. I think we got to be objective. You and I both see playoff berth as meeting expectations. I think if you want to exceed, get more of an A to B in my range, I think you have to win a playoff game. And I also want to go back to meeting expectations, Justin, for a second. U.S. Open Cup, I don't think we can just get bounced in the first match either. I think meeting expectations is winning at least one match in the U.S. Open Cup and going to the round of 16.
Yeah, I think I would love to see a little bit of a mindset shift, because I don't know if that's been the club's like top priority. And I'm not saying it needs to be. I think we've agreed in past seasons, like ultimately the MLS is your priority, but also at some point we got to give a little bit more than what we have. I think we've almost used those as like scrimmages, maybe a little trial run for some of these guys. I would love to see us just throw the kitchen sink at some teams with this, and like, no, not try to get some guys some additional minutes here or give a guy a rest here or there. This is the U.S. Open Cup. People in St. Louis care deeply about this. And that speaks loudly to your fans, what lineup you put out there and ultimately what the result is. So I think that is one that we do need to take a lot more seriously this year as well.
Great one actually in here from Ray, Just I'm going to add to both of ours is the reestablishing of a home fortress. Yep. It was that way back when it was City Park. Energizer Park hasn't experienced the same level of fortitude that we had in season 1, maybe even a little bit of season 2 with St. Louis City. Can you make coming to Energizer Park for any opposing team just hell on earth, whether that's through fan noise or just an overall vibe that our players bring to it, wanting to put on for the fans in St. Louis and just put on a show on a Saturday night for everyone that's, just paying hard-earned money to be here. Can you reestablish home form for us and really become another really difficult team that just when any team pops in, like, God damn, like we're here and it's just going to suck. And that they don't want to face us here at home. Like, I think that for me, that's got to be part of the meeting expectations. I think you've got to become hell to play against at home.
I absolutely could not agree more, Jake, because this is one where I'm looking at it now. Even in 2024, when we did not have a great season, we still had 26 points at home. We are 7-5-5. Last season, we were 4-7-6. That's 4 wins, 7 losses, 6 draws. What is that? That's 18 points. That is not acceptable at home. You will never make the playoffs when having a record like that at home and expecting them to go get, then almost 30 points on the road. It's just not going to happen. So this needs to be a priority for the team, and you know that it is. Those guys want to be able to come home and be like, look at these fans that you have filling that wall of city red behind the goal. It is intimidating for teams, and we need to get back to that.
Just reading some comments from listeners here, Justin. People talking about success. Good opportunity for any and everyone to step up and shine. That coming from SVJMCQL. City Effect saying consistent playing style, making the playoffs. That's a no order. Way less goals against than in 2025. I'm reading some consistent ones here. Again, Ray, we read yours out with winning at home. So many good things I think this team is. I think we're aware of, Justin. We know our deficiencies at this point because it was on show all of last season. There are a lot of guys that are in contract years. A lot of this team, I'm sure, just feels like they put us through a little bit of hell last season. A lot of the guys, it's very fresh on their minds. Like, I know there's been an off season, but that goes by quickly, and those games still live on your mind. I know DeMay is probably bringing in new style and a lot of new vibes into the team, but that still weighs on people. They want to write this, right? I do think the players take it personally, and so I'm optimistic about them coming out on the front foot. And it just makes me so excited for 11 days from now in Charlotte. I mean, here against Charlotte. Who knows what's going to happen, but it's the return of city soccer, and it's the return of just another long season. Who knows what we're in store for?
Exactly. And it's going to have a nice little break in there for the World Cup. We're going to be in tune for that for you guys as well. We have some special things coming for that. But another hopium and positive on this. Some of the front office members that we were talking to tonight at the kit reveal, we're talking about the chemistry and the vibes of these guys down in Florida and now out at Coachella. They are feeling it. They are ready. They're excited to be back. Yes, they might have lost one of their main pieces. It does not matter. They know what's ahead of them, and they're excited to be back in St. Louis. So I'm ready to show out for them as well, Jake. And just what is that, like 11 short days?
It's incredible. It's incredible. I can't wait to see everyone's beautiful faces back at Energizer Park for just, again, a very, very long season. But again, you'll get that break, but not a break from soccer. Then you can just devote all of your time and heartache into your national team as well. Like you said, Justin, we'll be covering that from every angle. Some exciting kind of stuff coming up here soon. So stay tuned for some announcements on that. In the meantime, make sure you follow us on social media. I know we're doing this weekly, but we're around a lot more than just weekly when it comes to anything on socials, whether it's your latest meme, your GIFs, some little sexy highlight reels. Justin, we got some ones coming out tomorrow, maybe a little teaser for one of our favorite players who we did not talk a lot about on today's preview.
A little tough to know what's going on the personal side there. Yep. But yes, we are going to be 10 days away from City's first game of the season. We're going to do a nice little highlight sizzle reel for Mr. Leuven because he is more than deserving of that. And I'm excited to have him back at Energizer Park as well.
Amen. Amen. Well, what a good note to leave off on here, Justin. A lot of optimism. Next week will be our first preview of the season as we preview Charlotte FC. Timmy Ream, maybe Henry Kessler, we'll see, coming to town and getting this season kicked off right. Cannot wait for it, Justin. In the meantime, all for City.
All for City.